Well, hello from Seattle, Washington. My name is Brian Galicia. I lead our business applications global independent software business. And it's my honor and pleasure to have the Solgari team, the CEO, John, and the CFO, Ed, on the call with me. But before we get started, I want to acknowledge the fact that it's Happy International Women's Day. So for all the women out there, thank you. It's one of those amazing things that we don't get enough time to celebrate and recognize all the accomplishments of women. And so thank you for all those who are watching remotely, especially those who are women. So the one thing before we get started, I also want to encourage you, as you're listening, wherever you're listening from, if you're listening live, we would love to hear where you're coming from or where you're watching from. So in the LinkedIn comments, if you can actually either maybe put your emoji of the flag of your country, or just put a comment of where actual country you're watching from, we would love to do that, and I'll flash up some of the names that we might see pop up. The other is that anytime during this event, that as we're having a conversation with John and Ed, if you have any questions or maybe a thought or a comment, again, please also put it in the LinkedIn window, and I'll flash that up and give an opportunity where I can either ask John or Ed, or combination of both, through the conversation. So let's go ahead and get started. Well, so John, let's start with you. Do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to do the same thing with Ed. If you could also, after your introduction, comment what's one thing on your LinkedIn profile that you'd like people to know that doesn't exist. Well, what's one thing that doesn't exist on your LinkedIn profile that you would like people know about you?
Okay, so thanks, Brian. It's great to be here. A pleasure to be part of this. I'm delighted to get to speak with the folks. And again, I'll echo Happy International Women's Day. I'm surrounded by them in my life, thankfully, and that's what makes life so good from my point of view, both professionally and personally. So keep up the good work. Yeah, I suppose I'm the CEO of Solgari. One of the things about me that's not on LinkedIn is, believe it or not, looking at me now, I was a very keen cross-country and middle-distance runner for many, many years in my youth. So not something that's blatantly obvious when you eyeball me, but there you go. I'm in here somewhere.
Brian's on mute.
Sorry about that. That explains now the walking as we were doing the pre-show. You're picking up that momentum of your prep work.
That's all I'm up for now, yeah, walking.
That's great. So Ed, we'll pass it to you. Just provide the audience a little bit of background of yourself, and then again, what's something that's not on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. Great to be on today, International Women's Day. So yeah, I'm the CFO and co-founder of Solgari with John and Vance, our CTO. And myself, I guess something I might mention is that I am a massive horse racing enthusiast. I've been racing all around the world. So the only continent I haven't raced on is Africa. So Brian, once we get out of our restrictions, I look forward to checking out some race meetings, maybe out in the west coast of the US and so forth. So a little bit about me there.
Oh, it's fantastic. And yeah, last week I fondly remember the conversation we had. And for those of you who don't know, in Dublin, Ireland, where John and Ed are from, there is a nice Microsoft office that overlooks the racetrack of I don't know how many racetracks are in Dublin, but there is a racetrack that the Microsoft office overlooks. And so, yeah, I would love to have that, Ed, and maybe the Triple Crown in somewhere in the US. I don't know if you've been to the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, Belmont, yeah.
Yeah, Fairmont. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So hopefully, yeah, once the pandemic's over, you'll be able to experience. So all will be able to experience something of normalcy. So let's go ahead and get started. So John and Ed, give us a little background who Solgari is. What is Solgari? Who is Solgari? What do you do? What's the joint outcomes that Microsoft and Solgari bring together to our joint end customers?
Sure, Ryan. Yeah, so it truly is, the outcomes are truly about a combination and a joint effort from a Microsoft Solgari perspective. And it's the combination of Dynamics 365, the Power Platform, and Solgari Communications that truly accelerates digital delivery for clients. And if we look at what digital delivery should enable, We should be able to give customers full choice and flexibility about how they communicate with us, and get first call resolution, which is what they're after, whether it be on a transaction or a query. And we offer all the communications channels, including social media. We offer them so that the customer can interchange or allow switching between channels as the service or the choice requires. Behind that, we have full functionality to facilitate the completion of the transaction. So if there's an amount, currency involved, we're PCI DSS certified, so we can help complete on that transaction. We have full contact center functionality with agent groups and automatic contact distribution and queues, etc., that you'd expect. And we have all channel recording and archiving for reporting and compliance. But behind all that then, of course, because it's so integrated across function and channel, we have all the data in one place and integrated fully with Dynamics 365. And so that's the basis for proper accuracy and real intelligence that we can use to assist in the customer service, but also in our own intelligence in terms of how we target. It's complete inbound and outbound support. So Solgari Automate allows for a layer of automation on top of D365, the Power Platform on Solgari Communications, and we've implemented quite extensive automation for the combined situation where you have automatic self-service and you have agent support as well. So that combination where we can apply what's most relevant and what's most helpful to the customer, and also to create the operational efficiencies that we want to drive. And so to that end, Solgari Automate Dialer allows outbound for audio, SMS, etc., where we can get great accelerators on our contacts with customers. And then, the last thing is a rapid go live. We don't want to have big risky projects where we're integrating various things, where we're taking siloed data stores and we're trying to combine them to get some intelligence or some customer service platforms in place. So, fast configuration, which is what this is. It's a truly cloud SaaS offering. We configure very quickly. It's globally available. As I said, fully compliant, no risks. In terms of the project and the integration, and you can start as small as large as you want. We've put 1,000+ agents live on quite a complex multi-channel inbound and outbound capability in 10 working days. So that's the combination and the power of it in terms of digital enablement when you take D365, the Power Platform, and Solgari together.
I mean, that's a fantastic overview, John. I mean, I think especially now as we're talking about the pandemic, it is even more so all this transformation that customers are looking for, how to enable agents to more effectively, intelligently provide that right type of level of communication. I think also what I've observed with Solgari is all the channels we support. I mean, I think there's all these emerging opportunities, not the traditional, but all these other areas of communication channels that customers leverage that Solgari also has supported, especially in certain time zone markets like Asia, where there's certain solutions or scenarios like WhatsApp or something that someone may be using to engage. And I think that's something that I've observed, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that's something I've observed too, which is a huge value add to what Solgari can bring.
Absolutely. And the Solgari WhatsApp channel is an example of allowing the customer the freedom to communicate with business whatever way they choose, and more the customer is demanding how business is done. So this is just facilitating ours and Microsoft's customers to allow them to take advantage of that and offer that out to their own customers.
No, it's great, John. Ed, anything you want to add to the dialogue on the benefit to the end customer and the journey?
Yeah, one of the areas so from where we started from in terms of our joint solutions, we're very, very much live agent based, Brian, and now we're seeing huge demand for automation across lots of different industries. So manufacturing, healthcare with contact tracing, financial services for outbound marketing. So the whole ability to offer automated channels, whether that's from Dynamics 365 or indeed from Power Apps. So we can power both of those types of scenarios. So big demand for that, Brian. And again, in the last 12 months, there's been a massive uptick in that kind of digital transformation, whereby you can improve customer service, satisfaction ratings go up through the costs, and you can make it all real time and much more efficient for the business. So we're seeing big demand for that, and it's really interesting things that we're seeing. So glad to talk a little bit more about that as well. Back on mute.
You're on mute, Brian.
Thank you. I unmute myself. Hey, so before we get to the next question, one of the things I want to do is give a shout out to people who are watching. And so Emily, who of course both of you know super well, that complements the work that you do with our global team. She's watching from her spin bike. So Emily, thank you for the shout out. Hopefully you're logging a lot of calories, a lot of miles as part of the work that you're doing. So thank you. We got another comment that says, hey, someone will join us and we'll hold the wagers for the betting. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And Rob commenting the fact that, hey, supporting the lads from Ireland. So fantastic to see.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the journey. So of course, when Ed, particularly, I still probably remember when you had the opportunity to come and we had dinner. This was back way before the pandemic had started. For you and John, tell us about kind of the journey that you've taken with Microsoft, because I think a lot of the people who listen to our live session are not only curious about the outcomes we deliver together, but Solgari's experience of why even join the Microsoft ecosystem. Because
Sure.
New to the role and how you're doing that would be fantastic to just get your perspective on the journey of being part of the Microsoft partner and ecosystem.
Sure,
Yeah.
and I've got a lot of experience of working with the large US multinationals, and I've been acquired by two in the past from my own history. So, working with Microsoft is a breath of fresh air, I have to say, and I've said this many times, and I've said it in many forums. The program has been devised to be, in my view, as close to perfect as possible, in that it's completely open and transparent. There is no aspect of it that we feel that Microsoft knows about that we don't know about. It's clear that Microsoft are very keen on this because the resourcing levels are fantastic. It's not just the numbers of people and the roles they're playing in terms of support of partnerships like the ISV program, but the quality of people that are put into the positions to work, certainly in our case. And we've got Ermasele and Emily and Garima as people that we're working closely with, and that's an absolute professional pleasure and personal pleasure. And I want to wish Emily a very happy International Women's Day. Bike and all. The rules are very clear. How you join, how you behave when you're in it, the rewards, the reward system internally and for Microsoft sellers is clear, and we're allowed to articulate our messages directly to those sellers and work in conjunction with them. So it's a fantastic program, and I think an example for how people, and I can see that the benefits to Microsoft because of how wholesome this program is are accruing. And I think it's in no small part of the fact that this is a very open, honest partnership relationship.
Thank you so much, John. We all appreciate those kind words because we feel the same side on our side is we want to provide that opportunity enablement. So there's joint value coming from both sides, and you hit it on the head. Is providing the right level of resourcing and capabilities to drive that success, but also a joint value proposition where it's very clear on the benefit of being in the program to drive those opportunities that allows us to go after similar accounts together to drive these joint outcomes that you and Ed had articulated on the value benefits you bring. So Ed, anything you'd like to add from your viewpoint as well?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. So look, I mean, we were probably one of the first ISVs into the BizApps ISV Connect program from early doors. July 2019, we saw huge value in Microsoft's plan. We knew our application had already at that stage been fully integrated with Dynamics 365 using channel integration framework. So technically we were way down the road, and we saw a huge business opportunity partnering with Microsoft. And since then, I think both of us have learned and us as an ISV, our attitude has always been like, how big is this opportunity? And we've always looked at it. We never found barriers. We've always found a way of moving forward and learning. It's not, you can't expect everything to be from day one. So, we have a very open attitude towards it, and it's creating lots of momentum for us. And that's happening because we are working together. We're thinking about new ideas. I mean, we've gone into things that we would not have expected to. So, for example, Solgari has come up with a joint collaboration around Dynamics 365 customer voice. We're doing things around conversation intelligence now. And there's other parts of the product collaboration that we're working very closely on that's opening up, Brian, lots more potential for us that we might have not have anticipated from the get-go. So, it's very exciting. And I'll say, John and I will say this, that we're only starting here. It's only starting. The potential here is multiples of where we are today. And today we've got enterprise wins, we've got SMC wins, we've got SMB wins across different verticals. So it's been great so far. I think the best days are ahead.
No, thank you, Ed. And then for those of you who are listening, some of the acronyms that Ed was mentioning is how we segment our customer base. And when you think about it, and it's fantastic you made that comment, Ed, is because when ISVs, partners come into our ecosystem, there is an opportunity to provide capabilities across all ranges of customers, from different industries to then also different company sizes. And it's great to see, because I've also witnessed that success. When you published your app, the how quickly it was recognized as such a value add to our scenarios that we can do joint success with. And the conversation, to your point, of being able to engage with many people in the Microsoft leadership organization, including R&D, to expand the value proposition. Because I always tell ISPs, it's not just when you publish your first app, how do you then evolve that first app or find other opportunities that you're referencing, Ed, other value opportunities where it makes sense for Solgari to plug into across the quote-unquote Microsoft cloud. Because Microsoft, of course, is not just Biz Apps, it's not just Dynamics, it's also Teams, it's also Azure, it's all these capabilities that, depending on where Solgari and us want to take that partnership, to your point, scratching the surface of being able to take advantage of those capabilities and figure out where is that opportunity to then drive even more value to our joint customers together.
That's it.
Yeah. So let's talk about customer stories, because I know we've had, to your point, Ed, we've had success. I mean, ever since you published your first app in the app stores in our marketplace, immediately seeing some of these wins come together and very strong pipeline. So I'd love to get both of your perspectives on sharing some of the customer stories of where has that success been generated, not maybe just from a win perspective, but where's the appetite and opportunity that we're both seeing from a standpoint of people being interested in this value proposition that we can bring together.
Yeah, sure, Brian. So look, we'll talk about maybe a couple of different vertical industry clouds successes that we've had. So in North America, in manufacturing, we've just put up a live agent communication solution, but also includes automation. So using two-way SMS integrated with Dynamics 365 using Power Automate. We have an automated solution for product ordering and delivery. And again, that drives huge efficiencies for the business. It gives them a competitive advantage versus their competitors because none of them do that. So there's an example where we've come to play with Microsoft and indeed with a very powerful SI partner to deliver that solution. So that's in the manufacturing sector. And there's an example then of a transaction that we've done that has potential across manufacturing everywhere. And we're working with the Microsoft teams now to bring that further out. So in the UK, we've got that in play. In Australia, we're working on bringing that out into the market. So it just shows you start somewhere and you get lots more momentum in that particular vertical and indeed in the region as well. So it really sets a firelight when you get deals like that done. So that's one example.
That's great.
Yeah, some other examples that spring to mind on the back of what Ed just said. In healthcare, two examples. One very large European healthcare authority where it went over 3,000 agents fairly recently, millions of SMSs and calls. for COVID-19 tracing, tracking and tracing, and you know, a great success. Stood up in 10 days from the time we met the client until they were fully live for initially over 1,000 agents. So and that just shows it flexed up to over 3,000 agents very seamlessly, very easy to add, because as I said, we're just configuring. A US outbound patient care service for both clinical trials and patient care contacts, fully live very quickly for all over the States. In finance, a UK bank with very urgent, large-scale multi-channel needs, and also very urgent home working needs for customer support, which we also stood up and put in very quickly with full regulatory compliance. So, you know, again, it doesn't matter where or how large or what industry, it can be very, very quick from start to finish.
No, that is great, Don and Ed. I think, so from my observation, it's been fantastic, and you touched on it. The industry expertise you bring to bear, because you mentioned manufacturing, you mentioned healthcare, you mentioned financial services. All those industries, all super different, but what's the commonality is customer agents trying to help and support the conversation, particularly under a pandemic. I think the other one that has been fantastic to see is that, of course, both of you are based in Dublin, but because of your global reach, and you mentioned the names of people, not just Marcelli at a global level, but Emily in the UK, Garima in Asia.
Sure.
All the impact that I've been able to witness and see of not just the reach you've had starting in Europe, but the reach you're now making in Americas, US, Canada, and eventually LATAM, and Asia, which is fantastic. Absolutely. To see. And I think that's the beauty of the program, is being able to build that up. And I think maybe I would love to get your perspective too, Ed and John. You mentioned SIs, because that is a critical portion to the conversation, not just working closely with Microsoft, but also working very closely with the other Microsoft partners, particularly SIs or GSIs. So can you comment a little bit on maybe that experience in P2P, or what I like to refer to as partner to partner in data engagement, because that's another great opportunity where new ISVs like yourself, when you started your journey, is such a great exposure, because we have very well established, as you guys know, very well established Microsoft partners who implement Dynamics. And for those ISVs who may not have a big presence in doing all that implementation work, they might have teams of people, but how do you complement that with a broader SI team? So I'd love to get both of your comments on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, what you touch on there gives a great example of that. Is one of our most recent wins is in Australia, a large-scale not-for-profit organization. So, you know, where we put in place a lot of the things that are relevant, as you say, in all of the verticals: good customer care, you know, considerate contact, flexibility, you know, putting the customer first, customer convenience, speed to resolution. All of those things are all in common across all of the verticals, of course. And, you know, the not-for-profit in Australia, again, that's something we're standing up on a large scale very, very quickly. So, you know, and again, proof it doesn't matter where in the world you are. We're live in more than 40 countries, so it doesn't matter really where you are. In terms of partners, that was sold in conjunction with a partner in Microsoft and Solgari partner in Australia, Barhead, who are a fantastic SI and a long-term partner of Microsoft's. You know, we've got lots of those arrangements with pure SIs, you know, the Avanads, the Hitachis, etc. The SIs that also have some capability in their own respect in terms of applications or services that they offer automated. You know, the likes of my head's gone a second, but MECOMs. For example, so MECOMs, you know, have a solution in the utilities space. We've partnered with MECOMs and Microsoft to win an Italian utilities client recently. So the ecosystem, it brings people that are there for a while. It brings new people. It brings people with slightly different flavors, like the Very Parks, who have systems integration and some solutions in financial services, are also great partners of ours. So, you know, the fact that there's a complement there, and that the program allows that complement to be brought to the surface, and we can all see it very clearly where we complement each other and how, and that's led to very fast and good customer outcomes.
I love it. I love it, John. So just to, again, for anyone who may have jumped into the conversation, we're having a great dialogue with John, who's the CEO of Solgari, and Ed, who's the CFO, just talking about the outcomes, the capabilities, all the great things for people to better understand the value proposition of Solgari. And that's one great thing you mentioned, John, in that commentary, is that it's not just the partnerships with SIs, because sometimes ISVs think, oh my gosh, I might be competing with another ISV. Why would I want to work with another ISV? And you just hit it, John. Is like Mecoms or Ferranti, they have a very strong scenario for utilities. And so they don't have necessarily the expertise of what you guys bring in the agent experience. And when you can marry two capabilities together, especially the strong expertise in utilities, your agent outcome capabilities, what a great perfect match, and utilizing the Microsoft partnerships and ecosystem to make that work.
Absolutely, yeah, and that works for the client as well, Brian, because the fact that you're bringing these three elements together, they're pre-integrated. We're all partnering. We've all done the integration work off-site. This is like bringing your home in already built and just plopping it on the site. So the outcome for the customer is fantastic. From a risk perspective, it's gone. From a speed to market perspective, it's just immediacy. So you talk about digital enablement and digital transformation. This is turbo.
I love it. I should probably quote that. John, this turbo. ISV Connect turbo. I love it.
Yeah.
Ed,
Brian, I'd just say the partner, the SI and the ISV partners for us are a crucial part of our business model, and we see it as one big circle. So whether we're doing business driven out of the Microsoft sellers and platform ecosystem, or it's coming from the SI or our joint work with the other ISVs. John mentioned Mecoms, Simple is another ISV partner of ours. Also Verypark. Some of the SIs we work with in Canada, for example, CRM Dynamics, we've got a long-standing partnership with them. Avanade in Europe, Barhead, John mentioned, in Australia. No matter where the opportunity is coming from, there's a role. If it's driven from Microsoft or driven from the partner, we bring it to the center and we see how best we can resource it. So there's always going to be partners involved, and they obviously give us local presence, etc. So really, really, really important part of our business model. So it's in very well with the P2P play that obviously Microsoft's trying to push forward, because it produces solutions that we're producing with our partners for customers, which is great value add.
Yeah, no, that's great, Ed. It really drives scale, because as a global business like you are, like we are, having as many sockets into where you can drive that joint value is fantastic. So again, for any of you watching this live, if you have any questions, we're going to wrap this up fairly soon. And there's one last comment that I'll throw out to both John and Ed. But if you do have a comment of what you've learned, or maybe a question that may have sparked an interest, please don't hesitate to put it in the LinkedIn window, and we'll flash that up and potentially have an opportunity to have John or Ed comment on it. Actually, we did get one here. And so Rukmini, who's actually from India, thank you for listening really late, because I don't know what time it is exactly in India, but she's a partner development manager listening. And thank you so much, Rukmini, for listening, and for, again, happy International Women's Day as well. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. Michelle, P2P should be the norm. ISV to ISV or ISV to SI to embrace the full platform and bring value to our joint customers. I totally agree. I mean, when partners, ISVs or SIs, or you might be both, because we do have those types of partners, being able to not only embrace the one Microsoft Cloud scenarios where it makes sense to, but also finding those opportunities. And I think that's what's fantastic to see with both what John and Ed, our team, has done, is in this short time frame. And when I mean short, I mean, granted, you've been, to your point, Ed, since July, since we have launched the ISV Connect program, but the journey you've taken in this time period, because we have a lot of Microsoft Dynamics partners who've been in our ecosystem for years. Yeah. You're fairly new, I would say, still quote unquote new to the partnership, but all these things that you've done is a fantastic testament, to the working relationship we have together, but just it really shows the focus and the effort when you have leaders like yourself really leaning in to understand, where can I pull the right triggers to drive the value of the partnership, successful things can happen.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'll call out is, so how do people learn more? I mean, talk about a little bit on, we put something together, but what would be next steps if someone's listening to this, maybe they're a customer who is in need of these capabilities. How do they get started? What are some of the things that John and Ed, you would recommend to kind of get started and to learn more about Solgari capabilities?
Yeah, well, just reach out to either of us. We'll get started, and what we'll do first, Brian, we'll listen in to what the partner or the customer is thinking about, and then we think about how we could address that. So it's just like Catalyst, by the way, Brian. That's the approach we take. So, but yes, please reach out, and if you're in those types of verticals we spoke about, and you're looking for, much more digital capability in customer service or sales and marketing, or you want automation into how your business process works, please reach out, and we'd like to have a chat and give you some of our ideas once we hear what the potential use cases are.
Yeah, I mean, we've literally just taken the wiring and the plumbing, etc., off-site and got it all done and integrated and put in place in a very nice, presentable way. So I don't know why anyone would go through that pain. So what we want to talk to customers and prospects, we want to talk about what are the business outcomes they want. All of the technology layer work is all done thanks to Microsoft ourselves and our other partners. So it literally is about your business planning as distinct from technology planning. This delivery now is very simple and very quick.
That's great. So one thing that I'll throw out there, so the Solgari team have put together, in partnership with Aaron Maselli, who is their global partner contact, we put together this very simple container that has content out there to get started. So you'll notice that John and Ed are both active on LinkedIn as well. So again, take advantage, especially Ed, who's very visible on social channels. Please don't hesitate. I mean, it is great when you have leaders, very senior leaders in an organization saying, hey, please reach out directly to them. That is a fantastic testament to they're genuinely interested in helping you drive the outcomes you're trying to experience. Also, to that, if you just go to aka.ms/LinkedIn Live March 08, that will also take you to, again, a container that has 3 pieces of content that the Solgari team, the Microsoft team put together to help you really understand some of in more detail what John and Ed had gone into, but also link to not only their website, but also a link to the marketplace where you actually, for those who may be Dynamics customers today, who may have a need for this area, you'll be able to also go to their marketplace listing on AppSource to look at that level of detail. So any closing thoughts, John and Ed, before we part ways and allow everyone to kind of continue on with their day, and leading up to, of course, St. Patrick's Day, one of my favorite days of the calendar year.
Yeah, or St. Patrick's Week if you live in Ireland. So no, I just want to thank you for the opportunity, Brian, to speak, and thank everybody for listening, and also to add my thoughts to Rukmini and wish her a happy International Women's Day and thank her for her efforts so far. Nice to hear that you're on the session this late at night in particular. Well done. We're very keen to move forward. We're delighted with the partnership, and we look forward to bringing the benefit of what we've brought to so many customers with Microsoft to others.
Fantastic. Thanks, John. Ed, any closing thoughts from your end?
Yeah, Microsoft's strategy of industry clouds, Brian, is absolutely the right way to go, and we're going to work very hard in adding value to some industry clouds where we've had success. So that's going to be a big area of focus for us. We see huge potential in that. And like, for example, Mikhail was just on there from Mecoms. There's the utility vertical. So that's us, the 2 ISVs working together, and there's an example of how we can focus on industry clouds together. So looking forward to the potential within that going forward. So goes back to my point, Brian, that we're only starting. It's all ahead of us.
Yeah, I love it. And one last thing I'll throw out there. So Andre, you probably both of you know from Bear Park. Great shout out, because again, when we can pair great partners together, especially our ISV community, be working very closely together. And Bear Park is very strong, of course, as you mentioned, in financial services. fantastic that we have other ISVs helping and support other ISVs, because that's what it's all about, building this ecosystem together. So thank you again so much, John and Ed, for taking time out of your busy day, busy afternoon to have this conversation for me. And thank you for all of you on LinkedIn who are watching this. We're trying to do this, particularly through the pandemic, get this outreach, share these best practices, share these stories. So every Monday, 8 o'clock West Coast time, we're always going to be repeating this. So next week, I'll give a shout out to, we have a partner next week in Life Sciences Pharma. Well, we'll be doing a very similar engagement to talk to their senior leader, similar themes, but totally different ISV about their experience. So thanks again, John and Ed. Look forward to getting back to normal when the pandemic is over. And again, I wish all very well. Be well. Thanks again, Solgari and team. Take care.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
Brian. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. See you. Bye. Thanks.